What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. We have just passed the 2024 NFL Combine. We got our first chance to really get our eyes on some of these prospects all in the same place. And obviously, we've had some impressive performances. Xavier Worthy, he broke the 40-yard dash record. Ladd McConkey, Trey Benson, JJ McCarthy, Adonai Mitchell, Brian Thomas Jr. A lot of these guys had very good performances. But obviously, whenever we have people who do well, we also have people that don't do very well. And when people rise, people fall. That is what today's video is going to be about. I have 3 fallers for you guys in your Dynasty rookie drafts, guys that I think are going to have a negative impact on their draft stock after their bad performances this last weekend. So without wasting any more time, let's hop right into today's video and let's talk about my first faller. Now, the first player that I want to talk about is going to be Bucky Irving, running back out of Oregon. He measured in this weekend at 5'9", 192 pounds, and he went out and ran a 4.55 40-yard dash, a 1.54 10-yard split, a 29.5-inch vertical jump, and a 9-foot 7-inch broad jump. All of this combined for a 65 as his score on that Next Gen Stats athletic score, and what that ranked was 24th out of 29 running backs at the Combine. Now, there is a RAS score. If you guys aren't familiar with RAS scores, it is from MathBomb over on X. Really what it does is it gives prospects a score 1 out of 10, 10 being obviously the best score you can get on a relative athletic scale. And what Bucky Irving scored was very unimpressive this last weekend. He scored a 3.71 for his RAS score. It is not good. You see there's a lot of red and a lot of yellow on this chart. And Bucky Irving is a guy who was being drafted in startups going into the NFL Combine in this class as the rookie running back 5. He was being drafted over guys like Marshawn Lloyd, who I do think is going to surpass Bucky Irving now after his impressive performance at the Combine. And like I mentioned before, this is a guy who put together an unimpressive showing at the Combine. I think it's going to affect him negatively. And although I don't think this is necessarily a nail in the coffin to Bucky Irving as a prospect, it doesn't really bode well for a guy who on tape looked like he should have performed better athletically, because on tape he does look bursty, he does look quick, but he didn't show that at the NFL Combine. So really, I think this ultimately just brings up a couple red flags for Bucky Irving as a prospect. But with all of that being said, I do think this is a guy who still can be a good third down running back in the NFL, especially because he does have some pretty soft hands. Now, the second player we're going to be talking about is going to be Keon Coleman, wide receiver out of Florida State. And Keon measured in at 6'3", 213 pounds. He ran a 4.61 40-yard dash. Now, this was the second slowest time for all wide receivers in this class. So this was the negative test for Keon Coleman here this last weekend. Although his 10-yard split was a 1.54, he had a 38-inch vertical and a 10-foot 7-inch broad jump. All in all, he scored a 66 on the athleticism score by Next Gen Stats. That was the 37th best wide receiver in this class. So not the greatest athletic performance out of Keon Coleman at the Combine, but he did have a pretty good gauntlet that I do think saved his day. This is a guy who is being drafted as the wide receiver 6 in startups in this class before the Combine. And I do think after his negative performance or perceived negative performance with that slow 40, and obviously the very good performances out of guys like Adonai Mitchell, the record-breaking run by Xavier Worthy, and an impressive day by Ladd McConkey, I really wouldn't be surprised if Keon Coleman starts falling down draft boards and gets surpassed by at least 1 or 2 of those guys. And for me, pre-Combine, this was a player that I felt like was going to test well, pretty athletically. This is a jump ball wide receiver, a guy who is very, very athletic, but he just didn't test that way. I do think Keon Coleman has some work to do if he wants to develop into a good NFL wide receiver. I think he's more of a project boom bust wide receiver at the NFL level and for you guys in your Dynasty rookie drafts. And so I don't feel super confident with Keon Coleman. He's a guy I've been a little bit lower on than consensus, and I think that this Combine is going to kind of cool some people off of Keon Coleman. And we've already seen some of these repercussions. A couple mock drafts that came out today at the time of this recording have knocked Keon Coleman out of the first round in those rookie mocks, and that is where he was going pretty often in those mock drafts. So he is kind of flirting outside of the first round now in mock drafts. And now the third prospect that I'm going to be talking about today, and my third faller, is going to be Audric, Estime, the running back out of Notre Dame. And he measured in at 5'11", 221 pounds. The problem was he ran the slowest 40 time for all running backs at the NFL Combine, a 4.71 officially. 1.58 for his 10-yard split is pretty decent. It is similar to Keon Coleman's there that we just talked about. He did have a 38-inch vertical jump, which is good for the weight that he's playing at, a 10-foot 5-inch broad jump. But all in all, he did score score a 63 on that next gen stats athletic score, which was 28th out of the 29 running backs at the combine. So obviously not a good score for Audric Estime either. And this was a player who was gaining a lot of hype coming into the NFL combine. He was being drafted as the running back 6 in startup ADP in this rookie class, and he was going over guys like Marshawn Lloyd, Will Shipley, Jalen Wright, all of these guys who I think performed better than him at the combine. And I would be shocked if these players don't jump him in ADP now, especially in your rookie drafts as we get closer to the NFL draft. And I think overall, the combine just showed that this is a guy who is bursty. I think he plays better than he tested, but he really does lack that top end speed. We obviously saw that in the 40, and it shows up on tape at times too. He's just more of that bulldog bruiser type of running back that I think he would really excel if you got him in the NFL level, kind of a role player in a backfield that would excel in the red zone. Somebody that can really bully defenders in the red zone as he tries to get into the end zone. I think that's kind of where we saw him excel in college, and I also think that's where he's going to excel in the NFL. Think similarly to how Jamal Williams was being used with the Detroit Lions. I think that would be a ceiling type of play for Audric Estime, and also a very comparable player and a type of role that he should be playing in at the NFL level. Now, that is all I have for you guys today. If you did enjoy this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Also, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel and hit that notification bell. That way you guys never miss any of our future uploads. And last but not least, make sure you guys are a member of our free Discord. We do have a free Discord linked in the description. That is for you guys so we can help you out in your Dynasty Fantasy Football leagues. You guys can submit trades for our trade shows, help us in rookie mock drafts, startup mock drafts, all of that stuff, just talking Dynasty Fantasy Football. So make sure you go join that Discord. It is free to join, like I said. And with all that out of the way, I will see you guys on our next video. But until then, peace out.